Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening. How are you all doing? My name is Amanda Ellis, and a very warm welcome to my channel, particularly if you are new and you have just found me. I know quite a few people have subscribed after the podcast that I did with Emilio Ortez this week. Thank you so much for doing so. Whether you are new or whether you are an old follower, I was completely overwhelmed with your love and support on that podcast. It's done extremely well. So much so that he's invited me back in a couple of months for an encore. So I'm thrilled to do that. And also just to branch out a little bit, really, and try new things. And I suspect that there's probably a theme going on there for all of us right now. I'm filming this on full moon in Leo. I am a rising sign Leo, Cancer with Leo rising, but had a terrible night's sleep last night. I am feeling a little bit tired, but I'm going to push through because Wednesday is a filming day and I try to keep regular uploads going on this channel. I'm going to go back to the early days. In the early days, I used to just switch the camera on, have no idea what was going to come through, and just download whatever came. So that's what I feel like I want to do today. There are 101 things I know to read about at the moment, most of them so controversial that I probably would have to switch the comments off anyway. I'm just not in the mood for that. I'm in the mood just for coming on, having a chat with you all, seeing how you're all doing, pulling some cards, getting a couple of messages from the crystal skull, weaving in a couple of colours, and bingo, then we're done. All right, so shall we do that? So how are you all doing this full moon in Leo? I hope that you're well. It's a very overwhelming world right now, with a lot of change. And one thing I can say to you is that my guidance is very much stay out of the drama. I am so over the drama of these days. I am just concentrating on keeping my own energetic system intact, balanced, harmonious, trying to stay in the heart as much as I can, walk the talk, all of the stuff that we talk about on this channel. And I really suggest that you try to do the same as well. There's so much out there changing day by day, news stories upon news stories, upon events. Ultimately, we as Homo sapiens are not necessarily built for this amount of technological overload, information overload, stimulus overload. If you look back through your past lives and your incarnations you've had, we've never had a time like this before where we have just been bombarded with stuff going on in all quarters of the earth, which, yes, it's good to know, but not at the expense of your own sanity, your own health, and your own mind, okay? And in particular, your own spiritual path, your own contracts, soul contracts that you came in to look at in this lifetime, which probably very much revolve around your personal relationships, your interactions, how you view yourself, etc. We do have Valentine's Day coming up on Friday, and my message for all of you Valentines, because we are all Valentines, is to look at the relationship that you have with yourself primarily, because ultimately, if we don't have a good relationship with ourselves, we're not going to have a good relationship with others. How we feel about ourselves, how we judge ourselves, how we look after ourselves, how we care for ourselves, how we berate ourselves, etc., is what we then tend to do to others as well. So really, I feel as though this full moon in Leo is shining a spotlight on ourselves, on our relationship with ourselves. And it's not sod the wider world, because I'm all about trying to help and bring bridges of prayer and healing and unity to other places. But there is a time and a season for everything. And right now, to be the most effective light worker that you can be, you need to be also looking after yourself, okay? So I don't know where all that came from, but anyway, that's the first message then of this video. I will say, although I'm not going to channel this person today, but I'm sure that most of you will be saying, yes, 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 do it, Amanda, is Joan of Arc definitely wants to come through. And I will say that for me, just sort of limbering up to bring Joan of Arc through at some point, I was just tuning in myself. I was pulling some cards, just sort of, okay, well, what would the theme be if, you know, Joan wanted to come through and say something now? And I will just show you 4 cards because they are the essence very much of what she stood for, but also maybe what we're facing at the moment as well in our world. I talked about the fact that many people are feeling overwhelmed, tired, lethargic. You do care. You do want to help make the world a better place. But it's like, where do we start? There is just chaos, destruction, war, toxicity wherever we look, as well as beauty, of course. And the cards that came up were, firstly, the 3 of Swords and the 5 of Cups. Now, I've still got, you can see on my desk, this is my little altar that I did linked into the Atlantean work, which was the last video. And I do feel as though there are still some more energies and messages to get out of this portal that I created there. So we're going to be dipping into the cards that I used in the last video on Atlantis. And this was one of the decks, the Mermaid Tarot, I think it's called. So Joan of Arc, we have the 3 of Swords and we have 5 of Cups. You can see both of those cards ultimately feel as though everything is lost to a degree, or if not lost, it's just blinking hard to keep going. 3 of Swords looks like an ending. It has a very graphic description of a beautiful whale that looks like it has died. And of course, the whale is synonymous with the energy of wisdom and also the Akashic records. And so to have a card where we have the whale looking as though it is defeated, although I'm hearing this is very much an Aslan type energy, because the whale isn't really dead in this card. It is able to rebirth itself and regenerate. It's very much sort of like a crucifixion type scene with the three swords, what looks like the dead whale, the wisdom keeper, the mermaids around it, just mourning the loss of innocence as well as wisdom, the moral compass being lost that we see in the world at the moment, with just so much depravity is the word that I'm hearing. You know, Kanye West's rant on X should have been shut down days before it was. Absolutely inexcusable that any platform can be used for such vile hate. And anybody that's going to stand up for what he was saying, you and I don't see eye to eye. I will agree to disagree with you. And in true Unity style, you can still sit beside me in the Unity circle, but we've got a big difference of opinion there. But anyway, going back to this card, it's just like wherever we look, we see unpleasantness. But there is this rebirth moment. We're feeling the 5 of Cups. We're feeling the energy of forlornness. I'm getting the word forlorn. Forlorn feels as though it's the opposite energy of hope. But, remember, this is all linked into Joan of Arc. We have the Knight of Swords. This is what Joan of Arc represents, the Knight of Swords, which is somebody, when all feels completely defeated and the 3 swords have been thrown down onto the ground because all is lost, all is hopeless, somebody else comes in and picks up the sword. Who is the sword? It's not just the energy of Joan of Arc. Well, it is the energy of Joan of Arc, but the point I'm trying to make is the energy of Joan of Arc is within you, that you are that person who is being asked to pick up the sword and continue to fight. And the other card that came with it was the card of strength. So to fight back with love. And it's perfect, actually. Now I'm looking at this card because look what's happening. With strength, the whale that looks as though it's dead is released from its net, from its shackles, and is freed, basically. It's freed. So I don't think I've ever watched the film Free Willy, the Michael Jackson song that goes with it, but I feel as though that is relevant for whatever I'm saying here as well. So there's an energy here ultimately of when all feels lost, it isn't. It's just that it's an illusion that darkness feels as though it's winning. Light will ultimately win, but it takes us to pick up the sword and to believe that we can win. Okay, so that's at a collective level, but it also might be how you're feeling just at a very micro level within your own life, as though it is just too difficult. Now, I have an international audience, so many of you are watching this, hopefully in lovely sunny climes, no earthquakes going on, no volcanoes erupting. You know, just because you're in a sunny clime doesn't mean everything's all right in the world. I know that. But I will say, those of us in the Northern Hemisphere, this greyness, I have to say, I'm a glass half full girl. But yesterday, oh my God, it got to me. It really got to me yesterday. But tomorrow is another day and I feel a bit lighter today. But yeah, it's just that energy of, come on, we can do it. We can do it. Right, let's pull some more cards then and let's see where this reading would like to go. But yes, I will promise to try to bring Joan of Arc in at some point soon in her armour. Okay, let's pull a few cards now. So I'm recording this on Leo full moon. I've got 2 decks here. Sorry, some of them are upside down, so let's just put them all the right way. And we'll continue on with the Mermaid Tarot. And I've also got the Magical Dimensions deck as well. But let's just see what messages want to come through for you today. Okay. I'm going to start with 3. I have put those cards back into the deck, so they might come up again. We will see. The first one that comes up is the Hierophant. The Hierophant. So this is the card of the teacher, learning. We see here a lady and she is poring over a book with a quill pen. She is in a library full of books, either to be read or that have been read. So it's a card of higher learning. A card of higher learning is how I'm wanting to interpret that today. I know the Hierophant can also be to do with governmental structures. It can be to do with marriage, partnership. But today it's coming through as a card of higher learning. What goes with that? The Hermit. The Hermit goes with that. So this is a time for us to learn the lessons, I'm hearing. And this is both at a collective level and at a micro level. In terms of you and your life at micro level, how much more writing do you wish to do on the same page that you've been on for maybe months, if not years? Is it not time to realise that you might have learnt everything you can from this particular chapter? Or, I don't know, it might be the opposite. It might be that you haven't learned anything, but I'm really just feeling as though the lessons need to be learnt. And very much like when you are a student, I remember my student days, and when there was an exam coming up, you would cram for an exam, wouldn't you? I certainly did. So I would revise. I was always a good girl. I used to do my revision, but the night before the exam, or certainly the week before, there was always a bit of a blind panic in terms of cramming. And even going into the exam hall, I remember I would have post-it notes or something, to look at, literally up until the moment that the lesson arrived, and it was a case of, are you going to pass it? And if you're going to pass it, by how much? Are you going to pass it with flying colours, or are you going to scrape through, or are you going to completely flunk it and fail? I feel as though we're coming up to that type of moment, and it just feels as though there is a book that is about to close, which is linked into the old way that we used to do things. I'm sure this is linked into the age of Aquarius that we're now in, but some of us are still on the old timeline. We're still reading the old book. We're still maybe in the old job or the old relationship or the old way of doing things. We're in the old pattern. We're in the old behaviours. But the hermit is really encouraging us to really cram like mad. We need to be learning now. And I'm hearing now that song by Elvis Presley, It's Now or Never. It's now or never. Okay. But I also think there's a collective energy coming in here as well, okay, which is that we need to be learning the lessons that are there on the collective stage right now also. And as I say that, we've got the energy of the Emperor, So to have a balanced world, you know, this is the underworld. So this card is obviously about being underneath the sea, the kingdom underneath the sea, linking into the subconscious as well. But in this underworld terrain, there is the Emperor who sits on his throne, whether you feel he's Neptune or whoever he is, but he commands respect. And he runs a tight ship, is what I'm hearing. Everything is in its place. Everything is balanced. Everything is harmonious. And it feels like utopia because we look at our oceans, for example, and our lakes and our rivers, and they're not balanced. They're not harmonious. There is pollution, toxicity, etc. But it's as though Mother Earth wants to get back to this place of balance and harmony. And yeah, it is interesting that I'm doing this video after the Atlantean one linked into Santorini. And I tell you what, my nose is starting to get blocked again. It's exactly what happened last time. I have not got a cold, but if you watch my last video, my nose was just streaming by the end of it. Sorry for all the graphic details, but it was. And it looked like I'd got a full-blown cold. And it was definitely linked into this Atlantean Santorini energy that I was talking about. And now, as soon as I'm dipping back into it, I'm getting the same thing. So, and what are colds? You know, they are purges, are they not? So it's like the underwater kingdom is wanting us to learn the lesson. And I do think this is tied into the underwater volcanoes and activity that is going on beneath the surface, not just around Santorini and Greece, but in other parts of the world as well. So, you know, we've been told watch the waters. And no, that's not a QAnon reference. I just mean generally watch the waters in terms of activity underneath the water. And I've said that years ago, linked into lands that were going to rise and also volcanic eruptions from underneath the sea. And we're still getting that. And there's something we're meant to learn from it. But it's also the energy of, it's what I said last time, it's the energy and the wisdom from Atlantis coming back. The whale that looked like it was dead, which represents wisdom, it's not dead, it's within us, it's latent, it needs to come back out. I know I'm saying the same thing that I said in my last video, but, you know, I'm sorry, if a message needs repeating, I will repeat it. We have the Magician also on the bottom of the deck. The Magician is us. It's about us remembering our skills and our talents and our gifts. So it's coming through very, very clearly. Okay, so that's one message. Let's see if there's a second message, or we might just carry on. I don't know. I feel like there's a couple more cards from this deck before we move to the next. So let's see what we get. Two more cards. Are there two more messages, please, for the people watching? We have the Four of Pentacles. I'll show you what that looks like in a moment. And we have the Eight of Pentacles, the Chariot as well. Okay, so Pentacles obviously is more earthbound. I just need to look at the cards before I show them to you. They're beautiful though. I love this deck, it's gorgeous. So Four of Pentacles and Eight of Pentacles, this just feels like a golden age. Look at those two cards. That a better world wants to be birthed and arrive. And we are the custodians and midwives of that. Look at this beautiful card. I mean, look how harmonious that is. Mankind in balance with the natural world. We have animals of water, the frog, animals of land, the stag, animals of air, the bird. We have the elemental kingdom. And look at it, Eight of Pentacles. It's everything working together in harmony, in balance. And this was once real. This once existed. What we currently have going on in our world right now, and this has been the case for hundreds of years, and we have to take responsibility for our part in it, because we weren't always the good guys in past lives. As I've said before, we were also the bad guys, if you want to label and put labels on things. We once did live in harmony. This is very much like an Eden type energy. Everything was balanced, everything was secure. But I really feel that this isn't just a memory that is nice to look back on. It feels as though it wants to come back. It wants to come back. It's ready to come back for the different parts to be reassembled in a new way to achieve that. Now, I know right now it looks as though we're furthest removed from that happening, but we have to trust the process. What is the main block, please, to this happening right now in our world? I mean, there are many blocks, and it's too easy just to label it as being one person or a leader or a couple of leaders. We have to take responsibility, because I tell you what, might not be a popular message, but this thing about responsibility, shared accountability, in this card, there is shared responsibility and shared accountability. Every single being on that card, be it elemental, be it part of the natural world, be it animal, be it man, knows that it is responsible for each other. It's as though there is no hierarchy. They are just working together. It's just beautiful. So what's blocking that? On the bottom of the deck is the energy of death. What's blocking it is the energy of death and the Ten of Wands, right? Yes, I understand, and the Eight of Wands. Okay. Let me get my words right in terms of what I'm trying to say here, and then I think we'll go to the crystal skull as well. What's blocking it is death and the Ten of Wands. We're hanging on. We're hanging on to old earth. We're hanging on to old ways. The Ten of Wands. I said on Instagram this morning that I am feeling, since the start of this year in particular, I am so over the division and the separation and the polarization. I was never particularly into it. I don't think I'm one of the people on YouTube you could accuse of saying, oh, you always play to the same side. No, I didn't. I tried to look at both sides, but I'm so over the separation. And just, but it's beautiful also, because I don't know, please tell me how you're feeling. Because it feels like a death energy. It feels like a initiation has been gone through, where I personally am just feeling as though even if I wanted to go into that divisive energy, I can't do it. It's just not there. Now, that doesn't mean I don't still have an opinion, okay, on things, but it's as though truly, in terms of the mountain that I talk about a lot, and we're all at different places on the mountain, I'm not trying to big myself up here, but it's as though I feel like I'm at the summit and I'm able to look down and just see all of it playing out, and loving all of it playing out to a degree, seeing all of the sides, but just feeling that bird's eye view so clearly, but also knowing that I've been that, I've been that, I've been there, I've been there. It doesn't mean, my friends, that tomorrow I won't have to go straight back and re-experience somewhere on the mountain, because it's a bit like that game Snakes and Ladders that we sometimes play on this channel. It might just be that I'm being given a glimpse of what it feels like at the summit, and it's like, hooray, hooray, it is possible, we can do this. And then I'm going to trip over and I'm going to fall right down a snake, and I'm going to be landing somewhere else on the mountain I don't want to be. But I tell you what, if I do that, I'm going to be looking for the next ladder, because I know it's a constant journey of climbing and climbing and climbing. And to be perfectly honest, when you get to a summit, you're going to see another summit that's even higher, okay? Because life is an evolving journey. But why this links into these two cards is because we have to, as a species, and I know very few people want to do it because it's safe and it's easy to stay in a separate camp, to say that I am this and they are that, and never the twain shall meet. It's getting us nowhere. It's getting us nowhere. It's getting us nowhere. And we can keep going round and round in as many circles as we want to, for as many different incarnations as we want to. We're still going to be getting nowhere. Ultimately, as I have said many times, Mother Earth is the one that's going to be bringing us back to each other. I have to say what I get. I'm hearing environmental catastrophe. This boat does obviously have an oil spillage at sea. It's not the first time there would be an environmental catastrophe. This card has oil rigs behind it. It's the card that came out in my last video, and I talked about it. Looks like blood dripping from the boat. And it comes with the 10 of Wands. I'm hearing it's as though, as a species, we're not wanting to admit defeat, that the old paradigm and the old way of doing things doesn't work. So if you look at it politically, in terms of left and right, it's just a game of ping pong. The whole thing is a game of ping pong. You know, one side comes in and they do something, then the other side comes in and they do the complete opposite, then they get kicked out, then the other side comes back and they do the opposite of what these people were doing. To and fro, 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 to and fro. God, I'm bored of that game, aren't you? Ultimately, as I always say, we've got to get towards unity, where we've got different representatives of all parties, of all people, of all creeds, of all beliefs working together. And the problem is, we don't think we're ever going to get there. We don't think we're ever going to get there. It's just hopeless. Because if we were to get there, what it actually means is death of the ego. Now, you can't actually kill the ego, because we all have ego. Every human being on this planet has ego. And ego can be a good thing. But when ego is out of balance, like anything is out of balance, it can be to our detriment. It's as though we're fearing the change because we think change is death. Change isn't death. And death isn't even death. How we're viewing death isn't even right. Death is just a doorway through which we go to enter another world. And then through that, there will be another doorway to another world. It's as though we're so frightened of death as a species. And ultimately, it then equates into us being scared of living, scared of change, scared of new ideas, scared of new ideologies, scared of going and sitting in that camp because they are my enemy and they are my polar opposite. And that isn't just political, it's also to do with religion, faiths, colour, creed, class, you name it. You know, we as a human species are very capable of creating a separation and a division there. What we're going to have to hang on to is this beautiful vision of working together. And you'll be laughed at, spat at, I'm hearing. I mean, hopefully not literal, but I think it's sort of the energy of Jesus, you know, being spat at, vilified, laughed at, mocked, ridiculed for believing in something that is possible, but not enough have come together to believe it to be so. Right, well, I said I didn't quite know where this reading was going to be going, and, you know, it's taken a bit of a surprising turn, but let's keep going. One more card from this deck, and then I'm going to pull from a different deck. Last message, please. Oh, nice. Okay, the last message is strength, which is perfect. So the strength card, which says you can do it. And on the bottom of the deck, we have the Ace of Cups. The Ace of Cups here, to me, would be the energy of the Holy Grail. What is the Holy Grail? The Holy Grail isn't just a bloodline. The Holy Grail isn't just a place. The Holy Grail isn't just a destination. The Holy Grail isn't just a person. The Holy Grail is a frequency. The Holy Grail is a cup that we all can take from, drink from. And when we do so, we remember our combined strength. So I love that card of strength and the Ace of Cups. The other thing, of course, to say would be that's the strength of love. The strength of love combined. The strength of love combined is what helps us to remove this fear of endings and not being able to face an ending. So love is the answer. Because the thing is, endings aren't even endings either. Death isn't death. Endings are new beginnings. Death is not death. Death is just new life. We've got it all wrong and all twisted. Let's just go to my friend, the crystal skull, and let's just see if anything he wants to add to this. Okay, it's interesting because I said he wants to add. So in the last video, it felt feminine. And what this skull has said to me is that to remove the labels, that... So what this represents, it represents many things, but today is soul essence. And soul essence doesn't have one gender. Soul essence doesn't have one age. Soul essence doesn't have one look. Soul essence doesn't have one creed. Soul essence doesn't have one geographical location. Soul essence doesn't have one galactic energy either. Soul essence is the merging of all aspects of what we have been, who we are now, and who we will be. And that we are fractals of each other. We are fractals of the wider universe. And I'm just seeing these beautiful fractals of light, which we all are, and the interconnectedness of all. Yes. Okay, so I'm just going to put that to one side. And I'm going to go to the second deck that I wanted to use in this video, which is the Magical Dimensions deck by Lightstar. Let me just shuffle this as I tune into whatever wants to come through next. Okay, this thing about my nose being blocked, for me, everything is linked. There's all the symbolism in everything. So the fact I'm sounding all blocked up and is it's altitude. It's an altitude thing. I know many of you get this. When you are accessing a new frequency, you can sometimes get like a popping of your ears, but equally, like, when you're in an aeroplane, I've never been below the sea. I'll tell you about that. It's hilarious, actually, in a moment. But I have been in an aeroplane, of course, and you get that blocking of the nose, and you have to pinch your nose, and then it clears your airwaves. That's what this is. It's like I'm feeling blocked up because I'm at a different frequency that my body hasn't actually acclimatized to yet. So that's true of us as well. All of you that are watching me, we're all linked. We're all fractals of each other. So if I'm feeling it, you're going to be feeling it to a degree. If not now, probably soon. So this is like well, of course, you're at the summit. Of course, it's going to feel different. It's a different altitude. Okay, so it's getting acclimatized to new frequencies, and the poor old physical body, of course, being the last place to get it, but loving the physical body, loving this vessel that we have, that is our, the vehicle through which our soul light can express itself in this lifetime. But yes, as we go higher, we also have to go lower as well. And the truth is, most of us are, or maybe you're lucky and you're good at both, but again, sometimes when we're shown that we're not as comfortable, for example, below ground, that says something. In the same way, if we're not so good with heights, that might say something. Think about the symbolism of it. Now, some of you, myself included, can be a bit wobbly with extreme of either, okay? Although it's interesting, I've tackled my fear of heights better since going on the cable car. There was a very interesting programme last night, this is related, on conquering fears on BBC Two, I think it was. And there was a guy there who was frightened of, interesting, he was frightened of frogs. There's a little frog here. And you might think, oh, that's a bit funny. And he said people often laugh at him because, oh, what does that matter? He's a gardener, it matters. He has had to stop taking work on because he's frightened of a frog jumping out at him. And the point is, they worked on him for 2 days and his fear is now gone. There was another lady who was frightened of hearing people being sick. They worked on her. Her fear is being gone. There was another person who was frightened of birds. They were frightened of birds. Her fear is now gone. How did they do this? Effectively, what they did is they made them confront their fear. They made them confront their fear, feel the fear and do it anyway, and the fear starts to dissipate. Obviously guided and done professionally, but essentially that's what was happening. So this thing about trusting that you can face your fears. There's something about going higher and going lower. If we are going to ascend as a species and go higher, but also if we're going to ascend at an individual level in our own life and go higher, whatever that means, spiritually or just practically in terms of, I don't know, a promotion or a new house, new relationship, whatever, we have to look at how comfortable are we physically at going higher for it to manifest energetically. Same with going deeper and putting our roots further down into Mother Earth. How comfortable are you with going underground? So I'm feeling as though I've worked more on going higher physically in terms of, for example, getting into an aeroplane, sometimes having a bit of a funny moment in an aeroplane when you realise you're in a steel tube for the next 10 hours and you can't get out, but usually I'm okay. Certainly, things like going in a lift. My mum, because she's agoraphobic, always has not been able to go in lifts, so I had to tackle that myself as a youngster, so she didn't pass that phobia on to me. But going in a lift, going on somewhere like the Shard in London or the Eiffel Tower, confronting our fears, going in a cable car. If we can do that, we're also showing the universe that not only can we physically go higher and we're brave enough to take that step, but energetically we can as well. I really think this is an important point. Now think about going lower. I mean, oh my God, the thought of going into like an underground cave, I have to be honest, fills me with dread. I think I've got more work to do on that. And interestingly, when we got married 25 years ago, this year actually, we went to Mauritius and we went on a diving boat and it was only me and John and this guy. And he said to us, he put the big thing over my helmet on, and he said to me, this is the sign for I'm okay and this is the sign for I'm not okay, or whatever it was. And he said, so if you're not feeling okay when we get under the water, he said, you just make that sign and I'll take you back up. I'm a water baby. This is all linked into Atlantis, I realise now, as drowning as well. Drowning in Atlantis. But I went under the water. I was only under there for about less than a minute. It was I was going to say pathetic, but that's not very nice to myself. I literally had a panic attack under the water. The helmet started to steam up. I was hyperventilating. So I gave the sign, I'm not okay. So he brought me straight back up to the surface. I was hardly even underneath the water, to be honest with you. But there was the fact I was trying to breathe underwater, but it all felt alien. And I laughed it off and I said, I'm sorry about that. I said, but you did say, to make the sign if you're not okay. And he said, yeah, he said, no one's hardly ever had to do that. And he made me feel so stupid, but it's always stayed with me. So we are going to go back to Mauritius this year, I think, because it's 25 years. And maybe I'll try it again. You might all have to come with me and hold my hand, because to me that would be difficult to do. But I'm realizing there's something in that, you know, to go any higher, you've also got to go lower, as above, so below. So we have to tackle our fears of going deeper, but also going higher. So it doesn't have to obviously be taking a boat and going diving. It could be, I don't know, it depends what your fear is. Some people might be fearful of going in an underground car park or exploring caves. I realise, you know, I definitely need to look at this, because I'm thinking now back to a holiday in France where John and the girls went down into, not the catacombs, what's it called? You know, like underwater lakes to see all the hanging crystals. I couldn't do that either. That was years ago. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to make a promise. I'm going to try and do something linked into going deeper underground. And what promise are you going to make? Which one of either going higher or going lower fills you a little bit with fear? Now, if you're feeling like I can do both, that's great. Are you as good on terra firma? Okay, because I think there's work to do for all of us somewhere. And this is all synonymous with our spiritual growth, not just tackling physical issues as well. Okay, right, let's pull some cards from this deck, and I might use a spray at this point actually, just to clear the energy and bring in a new message for you all. I think we'll go for Archangel Michael, who's a beautiful warrior archangel who helps us to feel safe and to communicate our truth. But you know, maybe if you're being asked to tackle your fears linked into height and depth, then Michael may very well be a good archangel to take you either up into the cable car or up a flight of stairs or whatever, or on a plane or below ground. Okay, Archangel Michael, welcome. I want to say welcome. Oh, it feels really good. Okay, so Michael at the back, the shoulders. Yeah, I've got you. Okay, thank you. Let's have 3 cards from this deck, please, for the people watching. Any other messages to come through, Michael? We have dreamscape. We have dreams, subconscious and hidden. So look at what's happening in your dreams. The messages from your dreams, your subconscious. What is being revisited? What is being welcomed back in? And as I said that, what is being welcomed back in, what is being revisited, the energy of forgiveness comes through. I know I shouldn't roll my eyes when I see it. It's just that, oh my God, forgiveness is one of the hardest principles, isn't it? Of Christ consciousness, heart consciousness. We have the energy of forgiveness. And on the bottom of the deck, we've also got the energy of perseverance. And I'll take one more as well from the bottom of the deck, which is shifting frequencies. And in fact, I'm going to take one more because it's just perfect. We've also got the energy of gateway. We have the energy of isolation as well. Isolation feels as though that is a consequence if we don't shift and at least try to change and forgive and release and let go. The world, I'm going to start with that card. The world doesn't have to be a lonely, barren place. Look at this poor wolf. And the thing about wolves, of course, is that wolves like to be in packs. But this is a lone wolf here, but it doesn't feel like it's a happy lone wolf. It is lonely. It's howling at the moon. I'm hearing it feels bereft. It feels lost. It feels as though it is not at home. It doesn't feel at home here on planet Earth. And many of you might resonate with this wolf. But right behind it, actually you can see it right behind it on this card, there is a gateway. It's not looking at the gateway. We also have the gateway card. It's not looking at the gateway. The gateway is linked into mystery, voyage and travel. Voyage. Why am I wanting to say voyage? I don't know. Anyway, the gateway is mystery, voyage and travel. Voyage. Who sang that song? Voyage. I don't know. It's turned its back on the gateway. It's turned its back on the gateway and it's howling at the moon and it's lonely. And there's a big energy of victimhood coming through with this card as well. Let us ask ourselves, why would we not want to venture on? We have the card of perseverance, the lion. Why would we not want to venture on? And remember that these cards also came with the card of shifting frequency. And it says intensity, choices, and align. There is a pulse, there is a movement, there is a flow that is encouraging you to change and evolve and try new things. And by trying new things, we shift our frequency. I said to myself, actually, only about a week ago, I don't know why it came up, but I remember saying to myself, I think it was on the back of doing the podcast with Emilio, which I really enjoyed. And I'll push myself a little bit out of my comfort zone. We've got the card of sanctuary, push myself out of comfort zone a bit to do it. Thoroughly enjoyed it. And then I said to myself afterwards, I said, right, whatever you're asked to do next, you're going to say yes to. Because I say no to a lot of things. I mean, sometimes for good reason. But I said, and anyway, an invitation came in and I thought, I don't know. I thought, what did you say to yourself? You're going to say yes to the next invitation. So I'm going to say yes to it. And I'm not going to tell you what it is because it's a bit more of a personal thing, but it's personal, but also linked into spiritual work. I'll tell you when I've done it. But it's that thing about just saying yes, just showing up, being open to discovering something new and going on a travel or a voyage, whether it's within your mind or physically. But yeah, we've got the energy of the lion. And okay, of course it is. I'm recording this on full moon in Leo. We've got the Leo lion. Come on, perseverance, persistence, recover. Because I tell you what, this knight that is standing beside the lion is quite tired. Tired. 10 of Wands we had earlier. Tired. Overwhelmed. Finding it hard. Finding it difficult. The lion is saying, come on. Come on, you can do this. But if we have got this card of forgiveness. So forgiveness is obviously an important quality right now. For us to be able to shift our frequencies and align to a higher source and a higher light, we have to be in a forgiveness state. Forgiveness of what we ourselves have done or said. Forgiveness of what somebody else has done or said. And what I'm being shown by Metatron, of course, is there is a scale here, isn't there? You know, somebody can, I don't know, trip you up in the street or knock into you or something, and it might be easier to forgive. It's just a small mistake somebody's made. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, I didn't see you. Everyone accepts it. It's an apology. The next step up might be somebody slams into your car. Maybe they're a little old lady who probably shouldn't be driving in the first place, but maybe you accept the apology, maybe you don't. The next step up is actually it's a drunken driver. How easy is it to forgive that? And then we get into the whole realm of forgiveness is actually about setting you free. It's not really about the other person. It's about setting you free. So forgiveness is on a scale of minor misdemeanors and things that we might have done or somebody else might have done to the big stuff that is really, really hard to forgive. But we are being asked just to work on it. You don't have to get to 100% of forgiveness on day one. You're not going to, certainly not for the big stuff. But you can ask for help with whatever it is you need to be forgiving. And if straight away you're going into a defense mode, ask yourself, which side of you is doing that? Is it your higher self or is it your shadow self? Because it will be the shadow self, because your higher self will always know ultimately what is best for you. And what is best for you is like that card we had with the whale at the start, with the chains and the netting and somebody trying to free it. The higher self will always want to be trying to free you from energies that are crippling you, that are lowering your energy, that are hurting you, Okay, so the energy of forgiveness. I will just spray the Archangel Zadkiel spray, which is linked into forgiveness, and it comes in on the purple ray. Oh, wow, okay, I've picked up Gabriel. Come to Gabriel in a moment. Zadkiel is to do with forgiveness and transmutation, the violet ray. So let's just spray this. And I just also want to go to the skull and ask about forgiveness as well. Okay. So I'm hearing one of the biggest blocks to the ascent and the journey forward regards our evolution as a species is forgiveness. We can ask for divine intervention and help, but that doesn't mean that the divine will do it for you. It just means that you will be helped to get yourself into a frequency or a circumstance or a situation, or be shown something that helps enable an energy of forgiveness to flourish, to see the benefit of it for yourself. And there's also something here about the passage of time, also being shown the passage of time. To start small is what I'm hearing, to start small. That you can't expect to forgive the really big stuff before you've actually worked on forgiving the smaller stuff. And you certainly can't work on forgiving the bigger stuff if you haven't also stepped into forgiveness of yourself and your own frailties, or inadequacies or weaknesses or what you perceive them to be. Yeah. So I made a bit of a joke earlier about that thing about when I was diving in Mauritius. And yeah, there's a part of me, if I'm really sinking into it, I'm just using this to try and help you. But I laughed it off. But there was a part where I was a bit ashamed that I was such a wuss. It's just like, for God's sake, God's sake, Amanda, why couldn't you bloody do it? That harsh, critical voice is really unpleasant. And the person that was doing it to myself was me. Nobody else was doing it. So where does that come from? And then forgiving that part that is wounded or feeling inadequate. And where has that come from? And if that comes from a particular situation or a particular person or a particular part of your upbringing, forgive that. Work on yourself. Love yourself. Love is the frequency that helps us to ascend. Okay. So I think, how are we doing for time? 53 minutes. I think we're nearly there then for this video. Let's pull one more card from each deck. So let's do one more card from the Magical Dimensions deck. And let's see what that will be. So for the people watching, we have the energy of trust, which I showed you earlier. It says trust, and it's to do with your doubts, your insecurity, but it also brings in the energy of patience. I love the fact that trust is written almost like in the clouds. It's written in the clouds to remind you to trust the universe, but also to trust yourself, to trust your path, to trust each other, to trust the earth. Going back to changes upon the earth, shifts that Mother Earth needs to do, purges that Mother Earth needs to do. Trust the process. That it's not being done to you, it's being done for you. And by that, I'm talking about future generations as well. Okay, the planet has to purge, split the deck, and we've also got the sacral portal. So what is occurring right now on our planet is an explosion of sacral energy. And it feels as though the ley lines and the grid lines, the crystalline grid lines that link into the sacral portal places in our world, and I'm being taken to Hawaii, for example, that there has to be an explosion, an opening, a birth that happens there. And we have to start seeing our life, which is important, and we have to maximise it to the full. But our life is but a speck upon this planet's history. And it's about our children's life and our grandchildren that haven't even been born, their life and their great-grandchildren's life. It's 7 generations hence. So if we start to see what's happening on this planet right now, however difficult and chaotic it is, whether that's linked into changes in the earth structure, politically, socially, whatever's going on, if we start to see these changes actually as trying to literally crack open something that is broken and rancid and stale to rebirth it into something new, do you not think it's worth doing that? Because the people that are inhabiting this planet in 7 generations' time may very well be you and me that have come back. So would you not like to come back to a planet that is maybe a bit more harmonious and that the Emperor has got a grip on? And okay, where was that Emperor card? I don't know. Yeah, that order is restored, harmony is restored, balance is restored, as above, so below. Okay, so that's that card. Let's have one more card from Mermaid Tarot. And I think we'll end with a message from Gabriel as he snuck in there. Okay, one more card for the people watching, please. Metatron. The Page of Wands. For our children and our children's children. I feel like I'm going to burst into a bit of Michael Jackson. But, you know, it is that. It's for our children and our children's children. Heal the world. It's all of that. Heal the world. Make it a better place for the children and the children's children. We can do it, is what I want to say. Bottom of the deck, Ace of Swords. It's just lying there waiting to be picked up. The Ace of Swords has got, it's rope over it. I thought it looked like it had got a snake on top of it, but I mean, it could very well be a snake as well. But take it anyway. Take it anyway. Going back to that programme on Fight Your Fears, the guy who had the frog phobia, it was actually really interesting because what they asked him to do was he had to put his hand into a box where the frog was, and the frog was leaping around, you know, and he was like, oh, I can't do it. And this guy was 6'3", you know, he was my age, and he was genuinely terrified of this frog. That was how his fear had manifested. For you, it might be something different. We all have a fear. But the point is that what is lying over this sword, which you're being asked to pick up for your children and your children's children and the future, you have to confront your biggest fear. So it may very well be a snake or a frog or whatever else it is that you're frightened of. Or it could be diving deeper or going higher to get it. This could be on the summit of the mountain. It could be at the bottom of the mountain, underneath in a cave. But take it anyway. You can do it. Okay, let's end with a message from Archangel Gabriel, and I feel this is going to be more of a prayer than anything else. So Archangel Gabriel coming in on that silvery white ray, and Gabriel is reminding us of our soul calling and our guidance, and also offering guidance. Archangel Gabriel. Archangel Gabriel. And I'm being taken to where most people know Gabriel from, the story of Mary the arrival of Gabriel beside her to tell her of the coming birth of Jesus. And the point of the story is that Gabriel was there to tell her of something that was to happen, that she felt as though she couldn't manage, was impossible, and it was foretold, it was prophesied, it was to be, it was to come. And so it feels as though Gabriel is beside all of us now individually, reminding us of our soul contract, of why we're here, of why we've come, to pick up the sword, to remember the harmony and the balance that is our birthright, and to add our bit to the collective pot that is going to bring us closer towards the energy of unity and love and tolerance and balance, and away from the energy of separation, blame, judgment, and anger. And Gabriel says, I will walk beside you and I will help you in your most difficult moments, the moments when you feel as though all is lost, it can't be done. I will remind you that it can, and it will. It can and it will. Perfect. I think that's a good place to leave it. Okay, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. Rather spontaneous read, but interesting stuff. Thank you very much. I will be back soon. Lots of love. Give a little like to the video if you've enjoyed it. And thank you very much, as I say, for all of your support. Greatly appreciate it. Lots of love, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye for now. Bye.